Today we're doing lesson 3.4, graphing linear equations in standard form. Now this is when we really start to learn the different forms of lines, and I really need you to commit these to memory because it won't be enough just to have them memorized for this next test. They go with us the rest of the year. All right, so the essential question says, how can you describe the graph of the equation ax plus by equals c? So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to highlight standard form. This is the standard form of a line. And then I want you to fill in those circles with the a, the b, and the c. The standard form of a line is ax plus by equals c. Now, there was another form that we talked about the other day. We talked about when we were trying to decide if an equation was a linear equation, we said it must be able to be put in this form. Does anybody remember that form? Think back to your puzzle time. What was the equation, what was the form that we had to be able to put the equation into? Y equals mx plus b. Very good. Now I'm going to write this down. You do not need to add this to your notes, but I want you to look at this. Y equals mx plus b. This is actually what we call slope-intercept form, and it will be the focus of tomorrow's lesson. But I want you to see the key difference between these two forms. And it's all about the x and the y, because they both have an x and they both have a y in them. But what do you notice about the x and the y in standard form that is different in slope-intercept form? X and y are on the same side in standard form. And that's what you've got to be looking for. If my x and my y are on the same side of the equation, then I know I'm looking at a problem that's written in standard form. Now, let's talk about the a, the b, and the c. It says that a, b, and c are real numbers. I need someone to tell me the definition of a real number or give me an example of a real number. But let's make sure we understand what real numbers are. David? 5 is a real number. It is a positive whole number. All right, give me another real number.
10.
That's still a positive whole number. Can you switch it up a little bit?
A half.
A half, okay, a fraction, right? 1/2. A fraction is a real number. He gave me a positive fraction. Somebody give me another example.
Negative 75.
Negative whole numbers are real numbers. All right, keep going. You're doing good. We've had positive and negative whole numbers. We've had a positive fraction. What else? Negative 2.5. Negative 2.5. There's a negative fraction. All right. There's one other type of number in math that we deal with. What is it? 2.7. There it is. A decimal. Now he gave me a positive decimal number. Can somebody give me a different one? Negative 3.5. Okay. So positive and negative whole numbers, positive and negative fractions, positive and negative decimals, they're all considered real numbers. So that means A, B, and C could really be a whole lot of different things. All right, but look at what A and B cannot both be. It says A and B are not both 0. And let's look at Y. If my A is a 0 and my Y and my B is a 0, what happens to my terms? What is 0 times X?
0.
It goes away, right? What if 0 is also, or B is also 0? What's 0 times Y?
0.
It goes away. And now I'm left with 0 equal to some number, and I no longer have an equation that can be graphed. So A and B cannot be 0 at the same time. However, look at the next sentence. When A or B is 0, you will have a horizontal or a vertical line. So I want you to highlight horizontal or vertical. So when A or B is 0, which means one of those terms will go away, you'll be left with a horizontal or a vertical line. Now, this has always given my students trouble. So a couple years ago, I came across these little ways to remember what a horizontal line is and what a vertical line is. So you see on your paper H, O, Y, and then you have little blanks to fill in, okay? So here's what this means. The word is hoy that you're going to try to remember. It means a horizontal line, and the O in the middle is actually a 0, and this represents the slope. Now I want you to write slope underneath that, but we're not really going to need slope until tomorrow, okay? But we're going to go ahead and put it in there today. Start getting familiar. A horizontal line has a slope of 0 and an equation of y equals a number. Remember, that's not a hashtag, that is a number sign, okay? So that means that a horizontal line only has a y in its equation. Now, the other three letters you see make the word if you highlight them, V, U, X, okay? VUX. Vertical lines have an undefined slope. So again, underneath the word undefined, I want you to write the word slope so you know what that undefined is representing. And then this time, a vertical line has an equation with only an X in it. So X equals some number. Now, let's keep that in mind as we move to example number 1. It says graph the linear equation. Now, you saw these instructions on your quiz yesterday. And what was the process involved when you saw graph the linear equation yesterday? The X and Y chart. You had to fill in your X values, plug them into the function, get your Y values, create your 3 ordered pairs, plot your 3 ordered pairs, label your 3 ordered pairs, draw a line and put some arrows. Okay, so it wasn't a hard process, it was a time-consuming one. Okay, now, today I'm going to teach you some different ways to graph that don't require you to make an X and a Y chart. So, look at letter A. It says y is equal to 2 and 5/10. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to graph the point. And this should not be difficult because where are we going to go? Which axis are we going to go to plot this point? Y. It's the only variable in the equation. So, from the center, where do we go to plot this 2.5 on the y-axis? We're going to go up from the center. So we're going to go up. Now be careful because it's counting by ones on this graph, and this is 2.5. So we're going to go halfway between 2 and 3. Now we have to label this point. So how are we going to label it?
Oh, no.
Ordered pair. So what's the ordered pair for this point? Good. 0. We went nowhere on the x-axis, so it's 0, and then we went to 2.5 on the y. So 0, 2.5. Now the only other decision is what kind of a line. Are we drawing a horizontal line through this point, or are we drawing a vertical line? But it's y. So go think about hoy and vux. Which one of those has a y in it? The hoy, which is horizontal. So hopefully you remember that a horizontal line goes right to left. You draw a line through that point. I don't care how long, just make sure you can put arrowheads on the end, and you are finished. Look at letter B, x equals 5. So we're going to go plot a point at 5, and on which axis are we going to be plotting this point?
On the X.
On the x, because x is the only variable in the equation. So from the center, where am I going?
5.
To the right, to 5. And what is this ordered pair going to be? 5, 0. We went to 5 on the x-axis and nowhere on the y-axis. Now, last question, vertical line or horizontal line? Okay, if you go back up to vux, you see the x, so that makes it a vertical line. So you draw a line through the point, put arrows on the end, and you are finished. Now, moving into example number 2. Take that highlighter and highlight the words use, intercepts, to. And here's why. Those 3 words are not going to show up on quizzes and tests. It's still just going to say graph the linear equation. So you have got to begin to recognize what form the equation is in and what the quickest way to graph it is. So if the quickest way to graph it is a table, an X and Y chart, then you're going to use an X and Y chart. However, I'm about to teach you there's a quicker way to graph an equation that is in standard form. All right, it's called the x-intercept and the y-intercept. Now let's talk about what an intercept is. What does it mean to intercept something? To cross, okay? Yes, now in the context of football, if a ball, but think about it, a ball is going towards a player and someone else jumps in front and catches the ball. So it's still that connecting, it's still that running into, it's still that crossing. That's an intercept. So we're going to find the x-intercept and we're going to find the y-intercept. Now, what is the x-intercept going to tell us? We're going to be graphing a line, right? So the x-intercept is telling us where the line is going to do what? Cross what? Which axis? The x-axis. Good. All right, I like that teamwork. So the x-intercept is going to tell us where our line is going to cross the x-axis, which means the y-intercept is going to tell us what? Where the line is going to cross the y-axis. Now, with that in mind, how many points then are we talking about? 2. All right, and here's why that's important. Every year I have students who find the x value and the y value. They put them together in one ordered pair and they plot me 1 point. That's wrong. The x-intercept and the y-intercept are 2 separate points. So make sure when you're finished, you have plotted 2 points. Now, there are 2 ways that you can find these intercepts. I'm going to show you both ways, and then you're going to be able to choose whichever way you want. You see in your notes it says the x-intercept. For the x-intercept, we have to make y equal 0. We need y to go away, and the only way to do that is to make y equal 0. So I want you to take letter A and write down the formula 2x minus. Now, when we plug a number into an equation, what do we plug it in? Inside of parentheses. So 2x minus, we're replacing that y with a 0, and then it equals 4. Now, is minus 0 going to impact this problem anymore? No. So we cross it out, and that leaves us with 2x equals 4. Now, how do we solve for x? Divide both sides by 2. So x equals 2. Now, we will never box that in. We will write an ordered pair, and we will box that in, because this is a point. What's the ordered pair going to be? 2, 0. Good. You found the x value was 2. Remember, we plugged 0 in for y. So 0 is our y coordinate. And there is your x-intercept. Now, in order to find the y-intercept, we got to make x equal 0. So we're trying to find y. We need x to go away. So we're going to use the exact same formula, but now in place of x, we're going to put the 0. And we're going to keep the minus y equals 4. What's 2 times 0? 0. So we cross it out, which means we're left with negative y equals 4. Are we done solving for y? Why? There's a negative what?
What is it called?
What's the number?
Understood 1.
An understood 1. Okay, there's an understood, you were right, it's negative, but that means there's an understood negative 1. So how do we solve for y? Divide both sides by negative 1. So y equals negative 4. But we don't box that in, we create our ordered pair. What's our ordered pair this time? 0, negative 4. Beautiful. Okay, we plugged in 0 for x, so 0 is our x coordinate, negative 4 is our y. Now, let's plot these points. How do I plot 2, 0? From the center of my graph. Go to the right, plot the point, and label it 2, 0. All right, what about 0, negative 4?
Go up 4. I mean down 4.
Okay, I'm getting a lot of different answers. Remember, hold on, remember, it's 0, negative 4. 0 is my x-coordinate. Do I go right or left at all? No, I just go to negative 4, which is that up or down? Down to negative 4. Again, I'm plotting, or I'm labeling the point 0, negative 4. Now, what's the only thing left for me to do? Draw your line. Draw your line. Make sure it goes through the points enough that you can put arrows on the ends. Okay, and you can even make this, longer if you want, but make sure it's long enough to where you can put those arrows on the end. All right. And you're done. There's 2 points. When a problem is in standard form, you're going to find the x-intercept, the y-intercept, plot those 2 points, draw your line, and be done. That's the first way. Let's look at letter B, and let me teach you the second way. And this, again, is not original to me, but when I found this, I thought it was genius. All right? If we want to find the x-intercept, which variable has to go away for us to do that? The y. Okay, so put your pencil down for a second. Use your finger. I'm gonna scratch stuff out because you can't see my finger. But if I want to solve for x, I need y to go away. So what is the y term in this problem? 3y. So cover up 3y with your finger. When you cover up the 3y, what do you see is left? X equals negative 9. Write it down. Now, is there anything else for us to do here? No. So let's write our ordered pair, and what is it? Negative 9, 0. Good. Now, you've not scratched anything out because you'd have to keep erasing it. But now, take your finger again. We want the y-intercept. So now which variable do we need to go away? X. So cover up the x term, and what do you see? 3y equals negative 9. Write it down. And how do we solve for y? Divide both sides by 3. So y equals? And the ordered pair? 0, negative 3. All right? So that is the method, the second method that you can use. All right? Any questions on that one? Here's the thing about this method. It's not getting rid of all the work, but it is eliminating a step where you have to plug in that 0. All right? So there's still going to be a little bit of work to show, but it is definitely much quicker. All right, let's graph negative 9, 0. How do I graph from the center negative 9, 0? Go left. All right, it's going to take you to the edge of your graph, but that's okay. It's -9, 0. And how do you plot 0, -3? From the center, you go down, graph, and label 0, -3. And what's the only thing left to do? Draw that line. Okay? Draw that line through the points. Put arrows on the end, and you are finished. Now, the last thing I have for today is a word problem. It says, answer the following questions. You lose track of how many 2-point baskets and 3-point baskets a team makes in a basketball game. The team misses all the 1-point baskets, and they still score 54 points. The equation 2x plus 3y equals 54 models the total points scored, where x is the number of 2-point baskets made, and y is the number of 3-point baskets made. They want us to find and interpret the intercepts. So we need an equation. What's the equation that we're going to use? 2x plus 3y equals 54. Now I'm going to bring it down and I'm going to put next to the question. 2x plus 3y equals 54. We also are being asked to interpret, so it's important to recognize, what does the x represent in this problem? 2-point baskets, and the y represents the 3-point baskets, okay? Now, let's find the intercepts first, okay? You can use whichever method you want. I'm going to use the cover-up method. I want to find the x-intercept. So what am I covering up? The 3y. The 3y's got to go away, so that leaves me with what? 2x equals 54. So let's write that down. Now, I need to find the y-intercept, which means what needs to go away? 2x. The x needs to go away, right? If I'm trying to find the y-intercept, x has got to go away, so I'm covering up 2x, and what does that leave me with? 3y equals 54. Awesome. Now, let's go ahead and solve for x. What do we get when we solve, or how do we solve for x? I'm dividing both sides by 2. So x equals 27. And the ordered pair? 27, 0. Beautiful. How do I solve for y? Divide both sides by 3, so y equals 18. Ordered pair? 0, 18. So we have our 2 intercepts, but now we're asked to interpret those intercepts. Who is brave enough to try and interpret this for us? All right, Tommy.
The team made 27 2-point or 2-pointer baskets or 18 3-point baskets.
All right. You use the word or, which is a little different than what I've been hearing today, but unfortunately it's still not exactly what I'm looking for, okay? You've taken the 2 numbers and you've combined them, okay? And you've actually done a little bit better, but we have to interpret these things separately. So you can't take the 2 numbers and put them together. Here's what I've been hearing all day. The team scored 27 2-pointers and 18 3-pointers. Well, that doesn't make any sense, right? Because what's 27 times 2? 54. They only scored 54 total. So they can't score 27 2-pointers, all right, and 18 3-pointers, because that's going to put them way over the 54 mark, all right? So, Tommy, you threw me because you did change the wording a little bit, but we still need to interpret these 2 points separately. So, Tommy, just interpret for me the x-intercept.
The team scored 27 2-point baskets.
And?
0 3-point.
There you go. The team, or they, scored 27, and make sure you're writing this down because it does ask us to interpret, 27 2-pointers and 0 3-pointers, or, here's where we insert the word or. Now let's interpret the y-intercept. Maya, what happens on the y-intercept? Or 0 2-pointers and 18 3-pointers. So these are the 2 scenarios. You say, couldn't they have scored some 2-pointers and some 3-pointers? Yes. But we found the intercepts and we are interpreting the intercepts. So either the team scored 27 2-pointers and no 3-pointers at all, or they scored 0 2-pointers and 18 3-pointers. Now make sure you have boxed this in because it asks us to find and interpret. So the interpretation of those intercepts is also part of the answer. And that is lesson 3.4.